So welcome to this series where we're having some discussions with some other content creators on YouTube and beyond. I am Geoh, I'm your host, and today we are joined by, I would call, a prolific YouTuber. He's been quite the inspiration to me, and I'm sure for many other people. And the content is at such a level, it's beautifully produced, it looks beautiful, and even sounds beautiful. This creator is a master of all domains and really goes the extra mile for the content. And who else could I be talking about but RR Slugger? Slugger, thank you for taking the time and joining us today. And I'm really interested to have a word with you and learn about how you do what you do and have a nice discussion on top of that.
Thank you so much, Geoh. The intro there is maybe a little hyperbolic, let's say, but I appreciate the kind words.
Just a teeny bit. I think it's deserving to give a brief introduction, and probably this is better to let you do this part, but you're a Lego YouTuber, and you're mostly dabbling in pre-2000 Lego themes and mostly sort of in the 90s, a sort of 90s dome of content. Mm-hmm. You're most well known for your love of the Rock Raiders theme and your retrospectives of it, which are very interesting. But I'll let you take the helm here because I think it's better hearing it from you than me. But how would you describe what you do and how did you get into it?
So, like you said, I create videos on YouTube, and it's taken me a long time to come to terms with the, to come to terms with the term YouTuber. So, because I started it just as a hobby, and slowly over time, as things kind of built up, and people started watching the videos, I kind of had to embrace the idea that, wow, okay, this isn't just like a dozen YouTube videos on a small little channel anymore. This is over 150 of them, and I guess I'm a Lego YouTuber now. So
there you go.
Good. Yeah. I still consider myself a hobbyist at the heart of it, though. Like I do it for fun, and if it ever stops being fun, it probably won't continue, right? So as long as it is a fun pastime, then I'll keep doing it.
I'd like to just talk a little about what you brought up, and that's the term of YouTuber. I'm in a very similar ballpark where to me, this is like, no way this is an actual career or but it's funny when you tell people that you do it. Well, I find myself when I tell other people who haven't heard of what I do, the idea of just the YouTuber in general, I feel like they get this person like vlogging in their mind, holding the camera, like selfie mode, being like, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited to have you back. Like sort of that weird kind of like genericism. But sometimes when people have the transition of doing it from, a hobby to full time, but no, that's very interesting.
Yeah. The term YouTuber, I think, is sometimes used disparagingly. Almost as like a derogatory comment in some ways, but I've kind of come around to it over time, and embraced it, because I find that so often on the platform we come across creators that speak ill of it, like they say that they don't like YouTube, but they have to do it this way in order to earn a living or whatever. And I really find I'm the opposite. I love YouTube. I think it's a phenomenal platform, and it has allowed me to do so much with the videos I create, and the art that I try to put out into the world. It's not just a video hosting site. It allows me to communicate with folks in the comment section, and it even pays me. Like it gives me money to do it, like just as a hobby, which is pretty phenomenal. They don't have to pay me, but they do.
Exactly.
So and I guess this to me sometimes comes from a lot of my audience, or a lot of people on YouTube these days, like in their early 20s, don't remember a world without YouTube, because YouTube has existed for their entire life. But I remember the world before YouTube, and it was all about, you had to go to the video creator's website and like go through and like find somewhere on their website, like their domain, where they had posted their videos, and that's how you watched videos back then. It wasn't all centralized. You didn't have a subscription feed, right? So like YouTube has really revolutionized the way that people are able to create videos and put them out into the world, and I think it's done a lot of good. So I'm here to back YouTube. I'm in YouTube's corner as far as YouTubers go.
I feel like with YouTube you can find a lot of negatives, like if you look, but I mean, again, like you said, the advantage of it just being there has done so much. And I personally I think it's actually been one of the architects, in a way, if I can use that term to describe it, of, just sharing content online and delivering content online. Like you were mentioning video creators, like I know some of them, you had the ability to like sign up for a mailing list so you get an email when something's posted. See, that was the original subscription, but to have it all like in one place is like, incredible.
Yeah, so, I think we take it for granted, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Going off of that, did you have any specific inspirations for creating content, and not even inspiration specifically from content itself, but just things that have inspired you to create and wanting to create?
Yeah. I was thinking about this a little bit, and I've got a short list of names if you let me prattle them off here.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So on the video side of things, because I said, like, I grew up watching lots of YouTube and all that sort of stuff. So we all get dreams of like, oh, you know what, I want to do that one day. That'd be fun. And I've always been really interested in video and photography stuff, but never really had access to that as a kid. We just didn't, the technology wasn't there on a consumer level that was, usable for at least my childhood. So it wasn't until I was in adulthood that it really started to be like something, a burning desire to like, okay, one day I want to do this. It's one of those things I want to do. And I think it was about 2019 where I really started kind of kicking the idea around more seriously. And at first it was just going to be, well, I just want to talk about Rock Raiders toys, right? Because with Rock Raiders, specifically Lego Rock Raiders, the online discourse at the time was all around the video game, because there's a PC game that was really popular. And most YouTube videos were about that, and most of the discussion forums and everyone was talking about the game. Not a lot of people were talking about the toys, though, and I wanted to talk about the toys because that's really what resonated with me. So I knew I wanted to do something like that. But it wasn't until I saw the channel Trick Bricks, Jamie being the guy making the videos there, that it really took hold for me. That I saw, okay, here's this guy, he's writing scripts, he's writing his own music, he has like a theme to every series that he's doing. That's exactly what I want to create. And I was just, gobsmacked. I was inspired by seeing this stuff. And so absolutely. Early on, Slugger was basically just kind of a ripoff of Trick Bricks.
I think that's where a lot of us start, where we see something we love and we think, I want to do that. Like, I want to do content just like that.
For sure. So Trick Bricks was like the model of like the specific thing I wanted to do with Slugger. But the other YouTube channel I wanted to mention here used to be called Xbox Ahoy, now just called Ahoy. But they've been making videos on YouTube almost since the genesis of YouTube. And the stuff that they were making way back when, we're talking at least 10 years ago now, was so high quality. It was unlike anything else anyone was making on the platform. Comparable like production values to stuff that you'd expect today, which was just mind-blowing back then. That was back when, like, before people made their own thumbnails. Like, you just like screen capture a game of Call of Duty and just do a voiceover over top of that. That's what YouTube was back then, right? So, and here was this person coming in and doing these high production videos. Back then they were talking mostly about like Call of Duty. They just talk about like, oh, this weapon was in this game, or blah blah blah, or all these cool things like that. But it was so impactful. And one of the things that they said in a video that they did way back when that just stuck with me forever was that they said quality always rises to the surface. And I really took that idea and ran with it, especially with like our Slugger. I try to make things that are quality, or at least high enough to my own standards that I think is like, yeah, this
Absolutely.
is good, right? And you just stick with it. You just keep doing it. And for Slugger's channel, it was sitting around less than 100 subscribers for over a year, or almost a year, I should say. Actually, I think I'm getting my dates wrong there. But yeah, almost a year of plugging away at making what I felt were really high quality videos with less than 100 subscribers. But eventually that quality pays off and people start to recognize it, and they start, the word of mouth starts spreading, and you get more and more eyes on the channel over time, and it just kind of grows.
And it's such a satisfying feeling, be able to make something your own and release it and have the feeling of knowing like I put my all into this, and being able to share it with the world and have them be able to watch it. It's a very special feeling. That's it. It's incredible to it's nice to hear about, the humble beginnings. Was there a point, sort of going off of that, was there a point where you noticed your channel really start to take off? Was there anything that skyrocketed that, and was it something that took you by surprise at the time?
Yeah, there were a couple of instances, and this is stuff that really leans into that word of mouth that I mentioned. So there were obviously some big shout outs for the channel later on in its life. I know Big Yellow had talked about it, which was a bigger channel than mine. Still is, I think, actually. Paper Dawn had talked about our Slugger at some point as well too, but the biggest one was definitely Solar Sands, which is obviously like a huge YouTube name there, like over 1 million subscribers on their main channel. They talked about me on a second channel, but that video still just took off. It's my biggest video, and I didn't have to make it, which is pretty awesome, honestly, all things considered. In addition to like the word of mouth, there were a couple of algorithm spikes, like ones that kind of popped up in the algorithm for whatever reason. The retirement of Trans Neon Orange, I did a video about that for some reason YouTube decided to show to everybody, which wouldn't have been my pick, but whatever, I guess. The Great Lego Plague of 2002, like you mentioned. Studless base plates was another one. So yeah, there's been a few of those. None recently, none within the last year, I'd say. So I think the algorithm is overlooking our Slugger for the time being, but I never played to the algorithm anyways. I never paid attention to it, so it's all good with me.
I feel like with the base plate one, and even maybe the 2002 one, that's one that really grabs your attention, because it's like, oh, the base plate with no studs, so it's like you're kind of drawn into that. It's like, how did that happen? So it's like then you're drawn to see what exactly that is. But I think the YouTube algorithm seems to love intrigue. With titling your videos, putting a lot of question marks in them, just having intrigue. It seems to love to push stuff with that. So that's very interesting. So for your content specifically, it's been, I've sort of slightly mentioned it before, it's been incredibly unique because, well, not too unique, but unique as in you've sort of mentioned it before. You do your own photography. You do animation from that photography, and then of course you it's all like, usually everything within that video is like made entirely from you, like with exceptions of additional source material. But then on top of that, which is the extra mile, is that you compose your own music, like your own background music for these productions, which is incredible to me. And my question is, what was doing, you mentioned quality before, was doing this all internally, almost like an in-house vibe to it. Was that entirely when you knew you wanted to do this? Was that the expectation you had? I know you mentioned Trick Bricks before, who did a sort of similar thing of music, and was that something you knew from the beginning you wanted to do?
I think it took seeing Trick Bricks and I'm like watching Jamie's stuff before that kind of became a burning desire of like, oh yes, okay, like someone else is doing this and it works, just seeing how well that channel worked, really, inspired me to be like, okay, I can do this. I think that's probably what set it off, but ultimately why I continue to do that, or why I prefer doing it that way, is it gives you, like the artist, full creative control over what you're putting out there. I don't have to rely on someone else's music or someone else's photography,
right.
or right, it all comes from within, and that to me is cool. And then you don't have to bother with licensing or whatever, right? Because
exactly.
yeah. I mean, like I said, like old YouTube, it was like the Wild West. Just people were ripping off people left, right, and center. No one was crediting anyone for any of their work, right? But nowadays, the standards are a little higher. We're kind of expecting you, cite your sources, that sort of thing, right? So, and that can get like to me that takes more effort than just doing it myself, right? It's to track down a source and like, all right, and then I gotta pay for the licensing for the music or whatever. And I'd rather just, like music comes easy to me. That's my number one sort of thing that I do in life, is make music. So,
awesome.
It was just like, I'll just do it myself.
Could we talk about the creative process behind the music though, which is, again, it's fantastic, and something that I appreciate is that you've offer your music for others to use in their productions, and I've certainly taken that up on the offer. I've used some of your tracks in my videos. I love the my favorite has to be the Time Cruisers theme and the
nice.
Triller Nights.
Yeah.
So I have to say, what's the process in creating a track?
It's interesting, because usually what I do is I sit down and decide, okay, today I'm going to write a song and I'm going to record a song. I'm going to make a song, right? For the Slugger channel. And usually when I sit down for the very first time, I have no ideas in my head. Maybe like a vague concept of like, I want it to be mid-tempo, maybe have some synthesizer stings in it or something like that, right? But yeah, like I sit down, blank slate, and a lot of the stuff I do is based out of my synthesizer that I've used ever since I was, I think, 14 years old, something like that. It's a Roland Juno G synthesizer, and I plug it into the Cubase, which is the program I've used for the last 15 years as well. And I go through, find the drum samples that I want to use, like directly out of the synthesizer, just audio input, record into that. So you start with your drums, so you kind of have some groove to build things on top of. And then I just kind of play around with some chords and play around with like bass line and whatever. One of the big things I always try to do, because like we're talking electronic music, like synthesizer music, like most of the sounds you're hearing are fake, like they're fake instruments. I don't actually know how to play like a banjo, for example. So anytime you hear those sorts of sounds, that's all synthesized. But one of the reasons why I use that type of music as a vehicle is because it's approachable. It's very easy to do if you know what you're doing. And these tracks usually, on average, take me about 4 hours to go from having no ideas to having a fully finished, recorded, edited track ready to go. So that sounds like a long time on paper, but like in the music recording world, that's actually a very short amount of time. Usually, songs will take dozens of hours to edit out and fully, and like to compose as well too. Like I'm writing it as I record it. So with a lot of these songs, like if I take Marco Polo, for example, from the Adventurers mixtape or whatever album, I remember distinctly, like, okay, so I wrote the verse section and I recorded all the bits for the verse, and then you hit a point and you're like, okay, well, now what comes next? Well, okay, maybe some sort of chorus, right? So then you write that, and then, well, maybe there should be a B section. It should go to a bridge or something. So then you write and record that, and so you're kind of building the track as you go along.
Exactly. Just like a Lego set.
Yeah, that's right. Stylistically, though, like in terms of other composers who have inspired me with this sort of stuff, I think I take a lot of inspiration from some of those early like PlayStation 2 video game soundtracks. Dan Wentz from he made the music for the Red Faction series. His music was really inspirational, as well as Graham Norgate, who did the Time Splitters games. So I think Dan Wentz and Graham Norgate, both big inspirations to me in terms of, you know, getting that sort of vibe, that early 2000s sort of vibe to the music.
And I love that. I have to agree. I love that era of game music, like PS2 and like I guess I'm not sure if GameCube counts in that sort of dome of, but I love that because it's like it's evolved from like it's I'm not sure the correct term, it's contemporaries, but it's like it's this unique scale.
I'm not a huge like 8-bit or like chip tune sort of fan. I just don't like the sound of those kind of fake instruments. So that era of music that kind of predates what we're talking about doesn't really appeal to me. I don't really find a lot of inspiration from that. But
I think I agree with that. I previously like I used some music like in that style in my videos, and I think the music itself existing in the games like is cool, but I think like on its own, the music for me, it's not, I gotta make sure I use my right words here, but it's not, I don't know if hard to listen to is the right term to use. But it's like on a scale of like, you know, I would take newer stuff, but no, it's charming in its own way.
But the instruments, like the timbre of the instruments being used, it's abrasive sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, I agree 100%. In the discussion of timelines, as you sort of brought us through the music timelines, how do you find for your video content, at least, how do you find what's the timeline of a video coming together? Because you've I know for myself, usually it's, you know, a bit of an elongated process. It's something I come back to whenever I have free time in like the 2 weeks I take to make one. But what's it like for you? And sort of to add on to the question, do you find that you sort of bulk up on projects, like you slowly work on multiple pieces and then slowly release each one? Or is it a one video, like you start one, finish it, and then you're on to the next one?
Yeah, definitely more of the latter, honestly. While a lot of videos will sit in pre-production hell for a long time, usually
I know that feeling.
Yes, of course, right? Usually, if I'm in the timeline and actually like you know, putting things, snapping things in, doing editing, that sort of stuff, usually it's just one video at a time. Sometimes I'll be working on two back to back. Actually, this past week I was working on two, but it's rare. I think the very first time I did that was when I worked with the Loader Dozer and Granite Grinder way back in the day. I remember working on both of those videos concurrently and thinking like, wow, I'm a professional now, you know. I can work on two projects.
Grind.
Yeah. I've never set a timer though for like trying to figure out, okay, how long does it actually take me to make one of these videos? So I sometimes just have to use very rough guesstimates, and the scale changes quite a bit. Sometimes I can get a video out fairly quickly, but sometimes it languishes for a while. I know it can sometimes, like I want to say on average probably takes me about 10 hours to write a script. So just to write and do all the editing, you know, from a Word document, right? like so that much of the process takes like a long time to do. And then you got to record the script, and you have to edit everything together so that it flows, and then you got to put it in, you know, into your editing timeline, and then got to do all the photography. But luckily, like one of the smartest things I did early on was the decision of, well, I'm not gonna license any B-roll stuff, but I'm gonna make my own B-roll. And so over these years I've been slowly building up this huge catalog of photos, like thousands of photos now. That I can pull from at any point in time. I mean, my organizational system is pretty poor. It's basically the photos exist in a folder in my computer. that is named after the video that they first appeared in. So sometimes if I'm thinking about a specific photo, I have to remember back, oh yeah, okay, when was the first time I used that photo? Was it in this video? And then I go check that folder. No, it's not there. Okay, where is it? So sometimes that takes a long time to locate the thing I'm looking for, but it takes less time to do that than it does to set up another shot and do a new photo, right? So
absolutely. I'm of course, at the mention of the photos, my favorite one sparks into my mind the Dr. Cyber holding the book of how to deal with a high IQ, one of my favorites that you use.
I get questions all the time about that one. People asking like if it's a custom print, like because they love that book, but it's actually not. It's from a Simpsons set of all things, like a Simpsons character collectible minifigure. Just
that's
super
cool.
Bizarre, yeah. But yeah, it's an official piece, so there you go.
Oh, nice.
My favorite one to use in a pinch is the monkey holding the sock. It's just a great picture that can apply to anything.
Oh, absolutely. The feeling of discovery.
Yeah.
So in regards to the content in that capacity, how do you find, and this is something really important that I try to ask everyone, and even I know for myself it's hard getting my head wrapped around it. How do you find yourself balancing your life and your work, and also balancing content creation? Because I know for a lot of people, and how a lot of people give up, and I know we've previously, jumping back to our first discussion, this is like the hobby. So how do you find yourself balancing like personal life and the hobby and work? Or do you personally have a way that you balance it out, or is it just one of those things that you have some time, you go work on it, and then you stop and come back to it?
Firstly, outside of any of the stuff I do for the channel, I have a fantastic work-life balance, and I'm very fortunate that I work in an occupation that allows me the freedom to have time away from the job, and like as a teacher, I'm already like in love with my work there, so it doesn't really feel like a job to me. So I'm just very, very fortunate to be in that sort of position. So that's kind of the foundation that I'm allowed to build off of for our Slugger. That's not going to be the case for everyone out there. I know this is it's an edge case, really. I don't want to come off as like I'm superhuman, that I'm able to do this. It's just I'm very lucky. I'm very, very fortunate to be in the life circumstance that I'm in. So that allows me to commit the time that I need to do this. But on the other side of things, I really do enjoy every single part of the process of making videos. I think honestly, editing is my favorite part of the whole thing. Is like taking all the ingredients that I spent all that time cooking up and actually putting them together in a coherent way. That is so gratifying to do that. And I don't think it would be as gratifying if I was using someone else's photos and someone else's music. I think that is part of the appeal to me, is like doing all this stuff that I spent so much time on, and then actually rewarding myself by putting it together and seeing how it comes together. Especially with some of that stop motion animation. Like I don't use any fancy programs or things that show you like what your last frame was or whatever, like that actual stop motion animators actually use,
Right.
No, I just take photos in a sequence, and then I just put them in the computer and like, oh, I hope it turns out okay, So it's really fun watching the playback on it for the first time in the computer after the whole thing's done, after I've taken like 100 photos and being like, oh, okay, this actually turned out okay. This is good.
No, I agree 100%. And I know I've been in situations where it's like, you just have to like, where it's hard to find the time, but yeah, it is a tough like thing to find time for sometimes. And I know there's sometimes with people who do make videos, and they will, they'll do a video, and not that there's anything, don't worry, I'm not trying to knock the format by saying this, but they'll do videos where it's just almost like a point and shoot style, where they won't have the opportunity to properly edit, so their video content will be just like the one shot, and having like free, which it's, that content is great too. It works well on its own, and I think it works in complementary to like, I guess, polished content in a way, but it's like sometimes that's all that people can do, and still that content can be great as well. So, you know, whatever anyone's able to do, it's great.
I think like one of the things that helped free up a lot of spare time for me was basically I kind of dropped playing video games 5 or 6 years ago.
Oh, yes.
I used to play tons of video games. I love them, and I mean I still do. Like I still love a lot of games and things like that. But I find myself spending less and less time playing them in my 30s than I used to, and all of a sudden I just find like, wow, I have so many more hours in the day than I thought I did, and kind of, you know, in a way, it kind of makes me lament some of the time spent almost wasted, you know, playing games when I could have been, you know, making things, being productive, like, you know, practicing my art, like. So if there's something to take away from that, I think like if folks are listening and they want to take some words of wisdom or whatever away from our discussion here, I would encourage folks to look at their life and look at what they're doing, you know, day to day, and decide on things that are maybe, you know, superfluous, right? Like you don't need to spend time binge watching another TV show. Like why don't you know put the TV down for a bit? Yeah. Yeah, you know, sometimes, you know, you gotta sit through Queen's Gambit. It's a great show. Like I get it, you know. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, there's more you can be doing with your time, and your time is finite, you know. So yeah,
exactly.
I think it's something to think about. Yeah.
I think no, that's absolutely fair. And I mean, I've even done the worst of where I will just sometimes, you know, be in bed in the morning and just decide to just start checking YouTube, and like, you know, and I say this ironically as this will be posted on YouTube, but I'll just like scroll, and like, I guess the term is doom scroll, where you just like look, not even watch something, but just look at, you know, and it's something you get sucked into, like, and it's sort of
absolutely.
And then, you know, I'll start grinding at something. It's like, Jesus, I could have started this like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's being very conservative, but it's one of those things.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. I'm 100% guilty. I was doing it this morning, right? So like, it's just one of those things. Yeah.
And bouncing from that, I guess in the sort of same sort of dome of production, but something incredible. And I say this as someone who has done this in the past. I believe it was the behind the scenes of one of your recent videos on the second channel, but you mentioned that you use PowerPoint to make your video thumbnails, which first of all, I applaud you as someone who did not have access to Photoshop for years. That was my PowerPoint was my Photoshop. And I think it's like in the defense, it's an amazing program for like, you know, getting like just putting stuff together, and I think it's a lot more user friendly than Photoshop is.
Yeah, so that's true.
I don't blame you at all for that. Could you mind talking a little bit about that and just about using it? Convert anyone who's a non-believer.
So I think the reason why I use PowerPoint, and like you're absolutely right, by the way, like PowerPoint is far more powerful than folks give it credit for, I think, as a program. Not saying it's anywhere like on the level of what you can do with Photoshop or whatever, but you know, like it gets the job done, obviously. Like I've been using it for years.
I'll interrupt and say by extension, even Microsoft Paint I've found recently has been great, because I mean, for a lot of simple graphics, and I've noticed for a lot of the work I do with my train stuff, like if I need to make like a crate, it's literally just like, you realize first of all, it's a bunch of rectangles, and then you just figure out the rectangles, and there you go, you have it there. And it's like, most people will be like, oh, you can't do like, you know, fancy brush strokes and stuff, and you can't, but it's like, for a simple purpose, it's absolutely perfect.
One of the things you mentioned at the start with your intro is you mentioned Slugger is a master of all the crafts or whatever. And the reason why I use PowerPoint is because I consider myself highly inept at a lot of the things that I do. And a lot of the computer literacy I know was based on what I learned in grade school, and it just hasn't progressed since then, right? So I learned how to use PowerPoint and Word, and as a young teenager, I learned Cubase. Like, I taught myself that's probably the most advanced program I've ever learned how to use. It's the audio software that I use, but I just taught myself how to use it through trial and error. But I feel like I haven't caught up with the digital world at all. Like, all the time, folks are asking me things, or they're giving me suggestions, like, oh, you could do this with your computer, and I just like, I don't know how to do that. Like, what? So, like,
what sorcery is that?
I know. I'm just. I think as a person, I'm really addicted to things just working when I want them to work. There's nothing I hate more than troubleshooting. Every minute you spend troubleshooting is a minute you've wasted, right? Like it just should be working. Like, everything about your process should just work. So like another piece of advice that I like, it's extreme advice, but I think it's useful. I use it all the time, is once you have a system that works, just disconnect it from the internet. Never update it. Like, it works.
100%.
What do you need an update for? It already works, right? So
exactly. Oh my God. I have this happen on my work computer and I hate it. The Windows of it connects to the cloud, and you don't even have an option to change it. And everything you put on the PC will instantly, without question, upload to the cloud. And it's like, why are you doing that? You don't need to put it on the internet. Just leave it on my computer and just, it's all the updates and everything. It's insane.
I took the plunge into Linux just last year, or maybe it was even this year. Honestly, I 100% will never go back to Windows. I am totally converted, but again, like I said earlier, I'm an edge case. I don't represent the majority of people that need to use a computer. I have maybe 2, maybe 3 programs installed on my Linux machine, and that's it. On a day-to-day basis, I use DaVinci Resolve, I use OBS, and I use Firefox. And those are my 3 programs.
There you go. It's all you need.
Yeah. So I do have other Windows machines, because you mentioned I use PowerPoint for my thumbnail, so I turn on a different computer to go do that, and I have a separate computer from those 2 to record audio in, and that's actually an old Windows 8.1 or something like that, but it hasn't seen the internet in about 7 years. So
that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you know
and
it'll work forever.
Exactly, right? It'll just keep working.
Yeah, and it sucks almost, because it's especially with the Windows, and I'm so happy to hear you use 8, because I have a Windows PC with 8, and it's I am never uploading that, updating that, no matter how slow it gets. But it's it's funny, because you get, in a way, and with updating the software too, you get so comfortable doing certain things, and you get so comfortable with intricacies of the software of the computer itself, and then they decide, we're just going to upload it, and we're going to put this here and this here, and it's just the frustration. It's why did you do that? So it's great to just have it and be able to know that it's this is how it was, this is how it will always be, in case unless the unlikely case that I personally decide to update it. So no, that's perfect.
Yeah. To me too, it's also about that creative control, that ownership of it. I haven't felt in control of a Windows computer since, I don't know, maybe Windows XP was maybe the last time I really felt this is my computer, that I can dictate what I want happening with it. And this new Linux machine that I'm running with Linux Mint on it, it's the first time I felt that way in over a decade. It's it's liberating. It's freeing to be able to just, push the power button on the tower, have the thing boot up in 10 seconds, and you're just good to go. Like there's no stupid updates happening in the background, or like, do I have to check to see if Windows Update is currently working on something, or like, why is my computer so sluggish right now? It's got to be something to do with Windows or some sort of auto update, or right? Like, or you turn it on and all of a sudden there's like a new feature on your search bar or something at the bottom. Like that happened to me the other day. I was like, what the heck is this? Exactly. I didn't install an update. What do you do in Windows? Or you get the blue screen, the welcome screen. Finish setting up your PC. No. Yeah, right. Like I hate all of that crap. So
oh my God.
Yeah. Linux,
that's the worst with the finish setting up your PC, because it's like I set it up like a year ago.
I know.
What are you talking about? Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
It's comforting to know that we all live in a similar pain, but it can be prevented.
Yeah. So I encourage folks, like, if you're like me and you just hate Microsoft, because I just have a real burning hatred for the company in general, and Windows is just kind of a byproduct of that, I think. But yeah, I encourage people to take the plunge into Linux. I don't think it can replace everything a Windows computer can do. But for my day-to-day machine, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And sort of, so stemming from there, we're going to take like a slight deviation.
Yeah.
And we're going to go into this, my last really question on productions of things. And it's a bit of a controversial one. But it's something that we kind of touched on in the beginning, but a lot more positively. But I've appreciated, compared to a lot of other YouTubers, in your videos, you've been pretty transparent when talking about, YouTube monetization and the monetization system. And, specifically you mentioned your dislike for mid-roll ads, which is something that, a lot of people in the position of a creator, or a lot of creators in that position would take a stance of, ignoring a situation like that, even if they liked it or didn't like it, because of the thought of it's making me money. But I really have appreciated you, just talking about that and, admitting you have no control, and even telling your viewers, if you want to do an ad block, like, don't worry about that hurting me, which is incredibly admirable and incredibly, transparent, because with most YouTubers, like, that's something that you're just like, I'll ignore it because I'll eventually make monetization. I'll speak on myself as a not really large channel, but I've been pretty proud of my viewership. The monetization system is not the golden goose that a lot of people paint it being. And I'm not sure if you ever saw this or these ever got to you, but I remember back in like 2015 or 16, where the eligibility for the system was changed, where it was decided that you need 1,000 subscribers in order to monetize, which I think is a hot take, was personally like not a bad decision. I remember I'd see people who would pay to have their videos posted, because YouTube has a function where if you pay, they will promote your video on and they'll put it on the front page of people's pages, and it would usually be someone in their 60s or something. I particularly remember one of a gentleman in his 60s, and he came on screen and he was saying, if I get 1,000 subscribers, I can make money on YouTube, so subscribe to my YouTube channel. As if it was this plea of saying, if you subscribe to me, I'll make money. And what I can only assume was that person's thought that immediately, once they were accepted into the partner program, they would be rolling in money, and they would be living right next to between Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk in Hollywood or wherever they live. But sort of to end my ramble, it's not as great as people say it is. And as I will say, for one, and I'm very grateful for what I've made on it, but it is really it is really small, and it's jokingly, it's not anything that I'd be able to, and not that I'd want to even do it if I had the chance. It's not something that I could just say, oh, I'm going to just, quit my job and make videos, paint for the rest of my life, as nice as that would be. Could you maybe, sorry, going back to the question at hand after my rant, could you talk about your experience with the system and just basically your thoughts, and if since those initial claims, which I think, again, power to you, my fist is up in solidarity for you saying that stuff, have your opinion changed since then?
Yeah, not really, honestly. It's really because I have the luxury of treating this as a hobby, and that informs my whole opinion. It puts a big asterisk next to anything I say about the monetization program, because I'm not actually relying on it for income.
Right.
And if I were, I think my tact would be very different. So I know a lot of folks on YouTube are trying to make a living doing it. So that is what kind of shapes their opinion on it, and my opinion's just shaped very differently. So it's what I say is not going to be applicable to everyone, is what I'm trying to communicate.
Right.
So as a hobbyist, to me, it's just it's awesome that YouTube will give me money to make the things I was going to make anyways, right? You know, sure, yeah, I'll accept a check every month. That's sweet. To keep it in perspective, though, way back when, YouTube didn't pay people to make stuff. You had to go through partnerships. You had to go through machinima and stuff like that, right? You had to go through third parties in order to make any money on YouTube. So the fact that they've actually changed that so that they'll just pay you directly, I'm heck yeah, because one of the things that I get offers, for this sort of stuff all the time. I actually did get some partnership offers with people that said, if you partner with us, we'll pay you more than YouTube does. And I turned them all down because I'm doing this as a hobby. I don't want to partner with anyone. I don't want to sign my hobby up. I don't want to hitch my wagon to someone else's wagon train. I just want to do me. I want to do my stuff, right? So the independence that YouTube grants me is really, really great. It's liberating in a lot of ways. So I like having that independence.
In my personal view, but I think the best part of, this being a hobby is that if you find, I found for myself, if I don't think I'd want to even do this as a hobby, I want to do this as a hobby, but not as a, full-time thing, because I think the idea of, being able to come back to go and come from this whenever you please is really comforting, where if you get stressed out from something, you can just be like, okay, I can drop this and I don't have to worry about this being an obligation, or but then if it becomes your job, it's like that's your job to be stressed about that then.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I for a year there, I really did keep up with the weekly videos. I was like, okay, every Friday I'm coming out with a video, which is a lot of work, to squeeze into a whole, a work week. Cause like I said, I work a full-time job elsewhere, and then to come home and continue working on this stuff. And it got to the point where I decided to stop that because it became something that was like an expectation over time, where I started getting comments from people saying, okay, well, what's this week's video going to be? And then I kind of realized, well, geez, I never guaranteed there was going to be a video every week. That just wasn't something that that's not what I signed up for, but it just kind of happened. So I kind of pumped the brakes on that and been like, and have since been like, no, I'm just going to release them when I'm done them, because I want to keep it fun. And it was kind of burning me out trying to stick to a schedule like that.
Right.
I think too, a lot of people on YouTube project their own expectations upon you. And some of those expectations are formed by the other YouTubers that they watch. And like you said earlier, I'm not saying I'm one of a kind or whatever, but I do stray outside of what you'd consider like your typical YouTuber in a lot of ways, I think.
Right.
So a lot of the things, like I got a great comment the other week about someone saying don't bother watching this video all the way because he just kind of rambles on, and he only rambles on to push the video past the 8-minute mark so that he can run ads on it. And I replied to the comment. I love getting like mean comments because it's fun to reply to them. I replied saying, "Oh yeah, that's a really good point." And I mean, that would really hold up if I ran mid-roll ads on any of my videos, right? Yeah. Let me know the first time you see a mid-roll ad on a Slugger video. It hasn't happened to my knowledge. So
you were just waiting for YouTube to put their own ads on. Fingers crossed, just sitting there. This was your master plan all along. I do love the accusatory comments. Just some of the ones, just they're their own genre of absurdity. Sometimes I've gotten quite a few.
Yeah, you have to have a pretty thick skin to be on the internet like that. To put yourself out there. I've definitely seen other YouTubers before not deal with it very well. I feel like I've dealt with it pretty well, though, from my own standpoint. And a lot of that is just because I truthfully don't really care what other people think of my art. It really is. I do it for me. I enjoy it. I see a lot of value in it. And I'm not looking for praise or approval from other people in general. So, like, if someone has something mean and nasty to say to me, like, what do I care about this random stranger on the internet? Like, sure, they're entitled to their opinion. I don't care either way. Right. Like the respect and praise that I do get, like, on a daily basis, is rewarding. Like that is great. I don't want to say, like, I don't want to make it seem, I don't want to make it seem like I don't appreciate that. Obviously I do. And I am certainly fortunate that people like the things I make. I've never been in a situation like a Rebecca Black situation with her video for Friday, right? I've never been in that situation where everyone hates what you just did, right? I don't know how I would deal with that because I've never been in that situation, but I think in general I do pretty well with comments. I get a laugh out of them, right? Like
exactly. You have to take it in stride.
Absolutely.
100%. I think in that regard, I've reached the end of the main questions, and we're almost bordering, at least now, 50 minutes. So as we come to the end, I know we could talk for hours. God forbid probably. We get into Lego at this point. But I'd like to ask if you have any closing remarks or any closing words you'd like to say on this interview, and if you'd like to have the chance to, any advice you'd give to any creatives out there or anyone wanting to make content themselves.
Yeah. Do it for you. You gotta do it because you want to do it. I encourage people just to take the leap and give it a try. And really, like as life advice, honestly, you want to be able to detach your self-worth from the things you create. Like you are a valuable person no matter what anyone tells you, right? Like you have to believe in yourself. And so if you put something out there and you get some nasty comments talking about it, some people that just don't like what you're doing, you have to be able to walk away from that and leave it behind. I think that's a huge barrier for a lot of people, a lot of artists, because they really want their stuff to be liked by other people, and we're kind of almost socially constructed as people to look for approval from others around us. So try your best to distance yourself from that, in my opinion, right? Like it's great to have praise, but sometimes the other stuff that gets filtered through isn't as rewarding to experience, and you got to take the good with the bad, all those sorts of things, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that's a big part. Yeah, you got to be ready to deal with the internet. Everyone has an opinion. They're entitled to their opinion, and you just got to be able to live with that.
I think I could not put it better myself, and I think that point about self-worth is incredibly true. I mean, I've even found myself, because you want to make something, and sometimes you will, like, I'll even know in my case, I'll be 100% transparent to reveal, like, you'll be making something and you'll think to yourself, I'm doing this for myself. This is for me. But, when you do release something out there and it doesn't get any traction or no one seems to care, it does really sometimes, does sometimes get you, and it makes you think, am I less of a person because what I made didn't get recognized? But of course it doesn't. And, you should be proud that you took the chance to make that art at all, rather than, art or video or whatever. It's all art in a way.
Yeah.
But, being able to do it. So that perfect. What a way to end off. And I think we will leave this here. Thank you, R.R. Slugger, for taking the time to speak today.
I'm humbled. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm absolutely humbled that anyone would care to listen to my creative process. So yeah, thank you.
Of course, and it's incredible. It's what we're all about here, and thank you so much for the opportunity. And until next time, I've been Geoh, and we'll see ya.